Hello and welcome back to video 3, and today, as I promised, we are going to start your first model. So, first things first, I actually just discovered there's also another way to insert parts, and that is under the Model tab. And this also includes the wedge part right here. The wedge part you cannot access from just a normal block, so we have the block here. Just drag it, and as you saw in our previous video, it had a bowl, a block, and a cylinder. We also have our wedge, and this does not include a couple other ones. We have our truss part, which you can climb, and there's one more. Where'd it go? There's one more part that is a corner wedge. Right here. There we go. So these are all the basic parts that you'll ever work with, and I'll just leave these here for this video. The first one I want this part right here, and I'm gonna build a small chair so that we can sit and admire what we're gonna build, which is nothing right now, but soon to be awesome. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to anchor it so that we don't have it falling around. I'm going to change these to smooth. I'm just selecting it, hitting S, and that'll jump between everything with S as the start. So there's a smooth part anchored. Control D will duplicate it. And now it's time to resize it. So I'm just going to continue. I'm going to be using hotkeys. Like I said, I've got a lot of stuff put on hotkeys just because it'll speed up the videos so that I can show you guys what you need to know. Right here, this is a pretty useful technique that I use. I'm simply building a character scale right here so that I can see how large my character will be compared to whatever I'm building. In this case, we're going to build a chair. And I'm going to select all of these, and if I hit Control G, it'll group it into a model. You can also, I'm going to undo that. You can also select them all here, right click, and then group right there. And it groups it into what's called a model. You can name that, we'll just name this player size, so we know what it is, and then we can drag that around as needed. So that's useful there, and this is where the hierarchy comes in that I mentioned before. This would be the parent of these parts, and each of these parts are the children. You can see their parent is player size, this model. So you can see our character is 2 studs wide. Nope, I don't want to save. There we go. So you can see these are each just 1 stud by 1 stud and then 2 studs tall. So I'm going to start with a basic 2 stud seat. So this is going to be the base for our seat, and I'm going to move it up a little bit. And then I'm going to move this down. And we need some legs, and we need a smaller scale. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to change it to 0.2. It's a scale I use quite a bit. And I'm just going to drag this down, and we'll make it 0.4. So we're just going to rough block in this seat for now. I'm going to make it slightly bigger than your character, so it doesn't look weird when you're sitting on it. And then I'm going to start resizing these for legs. So we're going to move them up, and I'm going to move them around. And I can select 2, I can just hold down Shift, select 2 things, Control D, duplicate them both at the same time, and then move them as 1. So there we already have, there's a basic stool. That's great, but I'd like to make this a chair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this back here. I'm actually going to move, yeah, I'll leave that there. And then I'm going to duplicate these, move them up. Let's make them a little taller. And then we'll make some in-between pieces here. And even though, so I'm going to do that size about. Cool, so here we've got our simple chair. Let's move our characters to the side. And this is a good starter. But I'm going to show you now how we can make this look awesome. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to group it. So this is what we started with. Let's take this and let's really turn this into a chair. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to left click and drag, select everything there, and let's make it a nice brown. And then I'm going to take the material and change it all to wood. And so you can see the wood actually does have a wood grain to it, and I like to keep my wood grain right. I don't actually have it right now, though you can get a plugin that will easily change the grain of the wood, but I'll show you. Normally you want the wood to run along the length. So here we're going to make it run up and down, and then we can quickly move it over. Wood's the only mainly the only material that I know of that has this this type of situation that you may want to watch out for. So I deleted that because what I'm going to do, I'll show you what I'm going to do here in a minute. So I've got my back piece, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the size of my movement. I'm actually going to make it smaller. We can't resize that small, but we can still move at that size. And I'm going to move this forward ever so slightly so that we can just have it stick through and we don't have to have whoops. That way we don't have to put multiple parts for down here for the legs and for the pieces that come up. So I'll resize this up, and this is looking better already. I'm actually going to resize that smaller. So we've got it here. And if you were going to do this, you could also do it down in the properties. So if you had a part here, like this, we can take it, go to the size, type in 0.2, change it to that. So that's looking a lot better there. Add a few more. I'm going to resize this just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to leave it that wide. I'm going to extend it out the front, and I'm going to move these forward a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. If you wanted to, you could even take all of these legs here. I'm going to open up size, and you can see here we have all the size for all of them. We could make them a little smaller like that. That's too much movement. So let's make it 1. And just get them to look nice. There we go. I'm gonna select these so we don't lose them. And you'll notice when I changed the size, it also made these float a little bit. And that's okay. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna get the size right. Then I can just select all of them, and it should be like 1.4. There we go. And these ones I also would like to be slightly thinner. So I'm just going to resize them by 0.1. That's looking a lot better. Bring it in on the sides a little bit, and we have a nice, there we go. So that's looking a lot better there. We have a nice chair there. But if you play this, you're not going to be able to sit in this yet because it's just a bunch of parts. So let's group this. We'll name it chair so we know what it is. Perfect. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to my insert object menu, and this is where I want a seat. This is what a seat looks like when it starts. And the first thing I'm going to do, set this smooth, but I want the front surface. I just put a hinge on it because the hinges stick out so I can tell where the front is, and that's where your character is going to point towards. I'm going to make it 2 by 2 and very flat. Control R to rotate it, and then that's a pretty good position. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually going to put the seat inside this part here, so we don't need, there we go, that looks better. We don't need, that way we don't need to have multiple parts to get the sizing just right and everything. I can make the chair how I want, and then I can just put a seat in, and to get rid of that annoying flashing, we'll make the transparency 1, and we'll anchor it so it doesn't disappear from us. And so there we have that all set up. Now let's go ahead and test it. So I'm going to go to test here, and right here we have different options. Play will spawn you at a spawn or in the middle of the world if there's no spawn. Play here is what I'm going to use, and this is just going to spawn us, there we go, so it'll spawn us where our camera was, and we can go over and sit, and there we go. So the seat will automatically have you sit like this, and we could adjust the size of the chair just a little bit if we wanted to make it fit better. And we can see here, looks like the seat is slightly offset, so I'm going to hit Shift F5, or you can just click the stop button up there, and no, the seat's good. Okay, that's fine. But you know, we could, I'm actually going to resize a little bit, and just by resizing the seat, one of the advantages of doing a seat like this is you can now you can adjust exactly where the player is going to sit on your seat. So if we have it, you know, far back here, the player's going to sit further back than if we set it up here. So I'm just going to set it right there, and I'm holding, so this is a model, and I'm just going to hold Alt, and it'll allow me to select individual parts within that model. So let's play here again. Let it load. Excellent. So here we can climb on and sit in the chair. Excellent. So there's, we'll return back to here. So there's the first chair. I'm actually going to ungroup this, and then I'm going to group the whole thing together so we include the seat. So there you go. There's your first model ever. You can see how I used the different tools we've got, and then all these different parts that you have to choose from. So go ahead, you know, mess around, see what you can make, and in our next video we're going to start building a small scene that we can use this chair in. Until then, have a great day, and I'll see you later.